Okay, now for the next section that I'm going to be talking about. Whenever you run a program, you start at the top of the program, which for Java starts at the main method right here. And then it goes line by line by line, and it does things one after another, and then it happens. Now, this program, as it is, will always go top to bottom. It will do the same thing every single time. But what if we want to do something interesting, right? What if we want to do it so it only prints a certain thing if we tell it to, and it prints another thing if we tell it to? So I'm going to wipe out this part up here, and I'll even wipe out our print statement. So we're going to have a nice empty main method to work with. The variable that we're going to use is going to be a Boolean. Now, Boolean is a really weird word, but basically it just means it's either true or it's false. Under the hood, when you get to the point where you're working with data and like memory management, it's not actually a true. What true means is 1. And what false means is 0. Whenever you learn about binary and how to manipulate memory, this is going to be incredibly relevant, but just keep that in the back of your head for now. Now, I'm going to have a Boolean called b, and I'm going to set it equal to false. And I only want to print whenever this Boolean is true. Now, how do I make it so it only prints whenever this Boolean is true? There are these things called, depending on the language that you're using, it will be flow control statements. Basically, it's just ways to reroute the program. So, as I said before, a program will start at the top and go all the way down. But there's certain keywords you can use to make the program behave differently, right? So this is a really simple if statement, and I'm just gonna write this. Basically, you start at the top of the program, this line runs, you keep going down, and this if statement gets checked, right? Whenever this if statement gets checked, whatever's inside of these little parentheses right here, whatever's inside of these little parentheses right here, if it's true, it'll do whatever is inside these curly braces. Now, if it's false, what happens is everything inside of here gets skipped. So whenever this gets hit, doesn't just go down line by line like normal. It hits, it's going to see it's false, and then it's going to immediately skip down to here and then keep going. Now, the best way I can show this to you is I'm going to make an integer. I'm going to say I is equal to 0, right? Inside of this if statement, what I'm going to do is I is equal to 9,000. And then down here, I'm going to print I. Now, if you start up here, you're going to have a boolean called b. It's going to be set to false always. You're going to have an integer starting at I. Now, you're going to have an if statement checking what b is. Remember, b is false. So then this gets skipped. So you immediately go down to here, system.out.println, and you print the value of I. Because this got skipped, I is still 0. So this should, in theory, print 0. Boom, right there. Now, let's just pretend that I gave it true. Now, whenever this if statement gets checked, this runs. So I is now 9,000, and then it prints, boom, right there. Now, that isn't quite close enough. Let's say if it's true, I want it to be 9,000. But if it's not, I want it to be like 2. What you can do is you can use another keyword called else. And basically what else does is if you have an if statement and it gets skipped, it'll do whatever's in this else statement. So then I'm going to do I equals 2. And then if I run this, it should print 2. And the cool thing about this is you can chain them. So I can do an else if. And then I'm just going to say if I is equal to 0, which it will be. I'll go back to this in a second. I'm going to set I equal to 6. And I'm going to run it. And it's 6. If I change the initial value of I to 1, this is going to get skipped because B is false. It's going to check this if statement right here. It's going to see that it's going to ask if I is equal to 0. I is equal to 1, so it's not. So that gets skipped. So then I is going to be 2, and it's going to print 2. Now, you might be wondering, why are there 2 equal signs here, right? There's a reason for that. So you remember how before I had it, in the previous lecture, I had something that went like int I, or no, I equals I plus 1. And in a math class, you would see this and you would lose your mind because there's no solution. This is like unsolvable, right? Because how would a number equal itself plus 1, right? It's not a math equation. This symbol means something. So what this is saying is that there's a variable I, and you're assigning it to whatever I is now plus 1. If I was just to use the equal sign in here, what it would do is it would just set I equal to 0, and then it would probably crash your program, or it would just always be true, and then it would always do this, and you would have a bug in your code. If you're trying to check if something is equal to something, you have to do equal equals. Now, let's just say I want to check if something isn't equal to 0. I can do I exclamation mark equals 0. What this says is I not equal 0. So remember, I starts at 0, I equals itself plus 1, so then I equals 1. B is false, so this gets skipped. And then we're checking, is I not equal to 0? Well, we made I equal to 1, so then I will be changed to 6. This else statement doesn't get checked because this was true, so it skips all the way down to here, and then it should print 6. Boom. Now we can also do things like check if it's greater than 0, which 1 is greater than 0, so it should still happen. We can do less than or equal to 0, which it'll skip it, so it should be 2 at the end. And basically, you can write any comparison here. You can do, the comparisons are as follows. You can do equal equals, you can do not equals, you can do greater than, you can do greater than or equal to, you can do less than, or less than or equal to. Alright? And then remember to keep updating your Git project or Git repository. Git status. You see the red thing has changed. Git add whatever the file is. It's green. And now you can do commit. And just because this lesson's short, I'll add a little bit more on the Git side. You don't have to use the -m for a message. You can just do git commit. A bunch of people hate this, which understandable, but I'll show you. It opens this. Now, depending on what operating system you're in, or what flavor of Linux, or if you're on, God forbid, Mac OS, it will look different, right? But this, I think this is Vim, the specific version. But basically, oh no, it's Nano. What this is it's asking you to write some text here. You're going to save it to a file, and then it's going to use that file to make the message whenever you commit. That sounds a bit complicated. Trust me, you're basically just typing in the message. The only annoying thing is to quit out of here, you have to use these commands down here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to write committing without -m. Now, if you type in enter here, this is where people get stuck. They're like, oh no, oh my god, I can't get out of here, right? But you, being the amazing learners that you are gonna know how to get out of here, and this will make you a step above your peers. So, right here, there should be one that says save, if I'm not losing my mind. My bad, it's nano, it's not save, it's write out. What you're gonna do is you're gonna press Control on your keyboard, and then you're gonna do O. And then right here, this is gonna change. It's gonna say file name to write. It's gonna say where this goes, right? This should be your home directory, your name, and then whatever folder you put it in. And then if you notice, it says .git commit edit message. Under the hood, what this is doing is this little text up here is getting saved to this file. And whenever you save it and close out of this, it uploads it via scripts and does it for you. If you want to use -m and do the quotation marks and put in your message that way, that's totally fine. I prefer this way because I just think it makes me look cool. To each their own. But I'm just going to do enter, and now it says it wrote 14 lines. The message file has been saved, so now all we have to do is quit. If you look here at the bottom left, there's an exit. So you can do Control X, and boom, you're out of here. And you can see, oh, committing without M. I just did the commit. If I do git status, the file is no longer read, and you did your commit. Congratulations. And then this will be the end of the second recording.